5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. My name is Rob Watson. I am a running coach, head coach of Mile to Marathon Vancouver. Back in my competitive days, I've run a 13:45K. 29:24 is my 10K PB, but that was en route in the half. And then in that half, no, it was actually the next year. In the half, I went 63:22. So that's me establishing some speed credibility. I have been coaching for 6 years now with Mile to Marathon. And coming up soon, I'm going to attempt my first 100-kilometer run. And it is going to be, I don't know, interesting.
So much fun.
So much. Okay, Gary.
My name is Gary Robbins. I'm in Chilliwack, BC. I'm a co-founder of Ridgeline Athletics. We're 7 years with our coaching business there. And I am known for long distance mountain stuff. Actually, I wore the hat. This is a 100K that I ran in South Africa in 2014. My finish time was 13 hours, 46 minutes. I finished second. The race had 16,000 feet of climbing and no aid stations. So very much different than Rob is totally offended.
No aid stations.
Yeah, there was one drop point after 60K. So you got a 60K drop bag and that was it. And no flagging, GPS and a map.
Are you sure you just didn't go for a long run in South Africa and tell yourself?
It went through lots of private property that it was approved to go through, but it's barbed wire fence. So I had to hop about 17 barbed wire 17 barbed wire fences in the race. And there weren't only 2 people in the race. There were actually 400 people in the race. It is a very historic event. Anyways, I've done 100Ks, not specifically with the same goals that Rob's coming up against. And I have never in my short career, I'm 44 now, I started running from relative scratch at 27. I've never done proper speed work, speed training. I've never raced a 10K. I've run 10K, I've run it for time, but I've never put the work in. So I'm going to do something that's out of my comfort zone. Rob is doing something out of his. I reached out to Rob to coach me through this process because I want to work with the best. And then I'm assisting where I can with Rob and his 100K run. And then we have a super catchy name for this. It's the 10K 100K challenge. The 1000s, the 1000.
The 10, something like that.
Someone else can tell us so you can name this thing if you want.
Yeah, that's super catchy. The 1000.
The 10K, 100K challenge. So we're basically, we're switching shoes.
We are.
What size are your feet?
11 and a half.
I'm 11. Okay.
Give
we
or
could
take
almost switch shoes.
Pardon?
We could almost switch shoes. Half size different.
We could almost literally switch shoes. I mean, I don't have any toenails anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But,
toenails are overrated. And we've decided for this, we'll do a couple of these video chats. They will be 10 minutes and 100 seconds long.
Yeah.
So 11 minutes, 40 seconds, which means we have 8 minutes and 20 seconds left to talk about nothing. So, so here we are. And we're going to give away some prizes. Rob, tell, what are we giving away?
We are going to have prizes in this competition. I work with Lululemon very closely. I'm a global ambassador for them. So we're going to be getting some Lululemon gear on some people to see what's going on with their run game. It's pretty strong. Got some Rally beer here. A couple of dudes I know started a beer company, and I think we should. I don't know. I like beer. I like dudes who have beer companies. So let's get that supported. I'll take a sip. And I think you've got most of the swag coming from your direction. So what do you got?
We're going to do some Solomon prizing. We've got a Solomon backpack, some Territory Run Co. gear, some Princeton Tech headlamps. I think Endurance Tap are going to give us some delicious maple syrup gel products to give away. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And Coastmountain Trail running entries. So we'll do Squamish 50 entry and some of our other events, including Buck and Hell. And I think Survival of the Fittest will throw in as well. So we'll have a whole host of prizing. And the main way we're going to establish who wins the prizes is by attempting to guess our times.
Yes. Yes. So there'll be 3 chances to win. 3 chances to win. Gary's 10K time, my 100K time and the full 2010 combination challenge ultimate prize of our times together. So 3 chances to win. So yeah. And we will open
random draw prizes.
And random draw prizes. So this is just a swag giveaway.
So I was thinking for my time, it'll be condensed, obviously at a shorter distance, and will be more than likely multiple people that guess it exactly right. So what we're going to do is you're going to guess my 10K time eventually, and then you're going to select 3 random numbers after that time, as in fractions of a second, and then I'll just pick 3 random numbers before I start my run. And then whoever guesses the time exactly and then is the closest to those additional 3 numbers. And that way we should find an actual winner without having multiple people that all guessed the exact same.
Yeah, because unfortunately we're not going to have, finish line timing where we're going to go down to the second.
We could. I know the guys.
Well, maybe we will. Maybe we will. Who knows?
We could go big, Rob. We're going to do live streaming. We're gonna have major networks covering this. I mean, we're just getting started.
Yeah, I think it's the beginning of something huge. A live streamed 100K up and down Spanish banks. It'll be the talk of the town. So Gary, now that we've established what's going on here, why is this going on? What's the deal? Why do you want to crush a 10K?
Well, I wouldn't use the word crush just yet, but why I want to attempt to get through a 10K distance as fast as possible. I have every year for at least 5 years in the fall thought about doing this and never really followed through on it. And the main reason over the last few years that wasn't happening is I had a foot injury that was eliminating my ability to run flat terrain comfortably. So my foot injury allowed me to go uphill and downhill with relatively little pain, but I couldn't run 2 miles flat without my foot becoming overwhelmingly painful. So I really was forced away from running any kind of cadence or pace. And I solved that issue just over a year ago in late November of 2019. And now after getting a year of healthy running under my belt and realizing that I can actually run happily again, I feel like I've got a lot of lost fitness on the run side of things that I want to recapture. And I want to see what I can do. I have trained with and run against a whole host of super fast guys in the ultra sphere for years. And I've always wondered what I could do in that space. And so, yeah, I decided to follow through on it. And number one on following through was reaching out to someone that was going to keep me honest. And that was you.
Awesome. Yeah, man. When I got the email from you, my first like reaction was like, I was super excited. I was like, this is going to be so cool. And then my second reaction was like, and then I got really nervous. I was like, all right, we got to do this right. Cause I mean, you got to like aerobically, there's very few people with that engine that you have and the ability to just dig in and get work done. And so you got an engine, you got a great mindset. So it's like, all right, now we got to actually put the speed in there, right? And
you can't have an athlete embarrassing you and your brand with a slow time, right? I mean, what would you do with that case? So I understand where that fear would be rooted in.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the work you've done so far, and I think we're off to a pretty good start. I mean, you did do a 5K time trial this past weekend. And
a couple of days ago, yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk a little bit about how your first ever track 5K?
Holy smokes! So coach knew. He said you are in this range right here, 17, 15 range was what he said. And I said, well, if we're in 17, 15 range, then we might as well shoot for sub 17 and see how it goes. And I ended up running 17:33. I definitely left some time on the table by attempting to run faster than I actually could, but I enjoyed it a lot. And it was super painful. I could taste the blood in my mouth when I finished. And it's incredible to me from someone who's done races that are quantified in hours and days, that in a matter of mere minutes, I mean, it's about as much time as it takes to make a few cups of coffee, you can be in as miserable a space and wanting to quit. And I had the thought after about 1.5 miles of, it's too much, you're not hitting your goal, pull the plug. And that just told me I was doing it right. And I always tell myself in that moment when it gets really tough, that if you pull the plug, you're just going to have to start all over again. You've worked hard to get to this point where you want to quit. And this is where you'll just have to work hard to get back to this point again. So it was miserable and it was really tough. And I loved every second of it, to be honest.
I love that. I love that. And that's the thing. Running is a sport where you can experience so much discomfort over a huge spectrum. And a 5K is so condensed. And it's so much more of that lactate burn but it can be awful. And like you were saying, like you start out quick. I mean, it was a fade from the front, which is pretty much on brand with what I've been doing in my whole career. So, you went out hard and you gave it a go. And like you said, like the mindset of processing that, like this sucks and I want to stop. It's like the first mile, you were there already. The next couple miles that was into the unknown, and you had to experience that and you had to dip your toes in that, because this was just a dry run for the race that's going to come up. And in your running career, you probably haven't experienced a lot of that, like full steam, full send. It's been more of a delayed slow burn, where a 5K is a pretty sharp burn. And you handled it well. And I think that where you're at with your training, especially the way your speed has come around, you're still at a very nice trajectory of you're improving leaps and bounds every week. So by the time go times comes around, I'm super excited to see what you can do.
I'm super excited too. And I have to say, the first 3 weeks plus, every workout was leaving me pretty crippled. I was doing the workout and then I could basically like barely walk. I certainly couldn't run for the days after. I was doing everything I could on a recovery standpoint, from rolling and just stretching and trying to get my body back so that 2-3 days later I could step up and do another workout. And it's been nice to see the conditioning start to take shape, where I ran the 5K time trial and I actually wasn't that beat up from it afterwards, which was very unexpected. And I messaged Rob 10 days ago and I was like, does this ever not hurt so much? Like, this is miserable after every workout. And thankfully, I think I'm finally starting to adapt to that foreign stress load, but it's a slow process for that unique conditioning.
Oh yeah, man. You're working different muscles and they're working in different ways when you're doing that speed work. And it just goes back to specificity of the training, right? There's been no reason for you to be hitting those fast intervals. So you haven't done a lot of that. So it took a little bit of time for your body to come around, but it's coming around really well. And you're starting to, I feel like you're in a good place right now where you're finding your rhythm and you're healthy, and we're just going to move forward. And
I'm stoked.
I think you'll be crushing.
I've said to Rob, through January, once we get through the 10K goal, I'm going to keep going because I am absolutely loving this work right now. We've blown through our time. We're just going to keep going because we're having a good conversation. This will be yeah, exactly. But essentially, so I turned 44 just a few weeks back, and one of my running idols is someone named Blake Wood. And Blake Wood he held the record for the longest span between sub-3 marathons. And I think it was 27 years before someone took it from him. And now he's going to try to get it back again. He's also a Barkley Marathons finisher. And there was an interview with him recently. And he's won Hard Rock 100. And he's a legend within my sport, but he's also got some chops, got some legs on the roads and the track. His daughter was training for Olympic trials, was why he trained for sub-3 marathon. Anyways, he was interviewed recently and he basically said, he wishes he trained when he was younger the way that he trains now. And that really resonated with me because I'm coming up against that myself. I've noticed in my 40s that things are changing. Recovery is not the same, and I can't just be reckless with my training and what I want to do. So this is why this has been a thought for many years now, is I know I need to train differently, and I'm finding the benefits of it immediately. And I know that this is what's going to allow me to stay at a range that I want to continue to compete at in the coming years, is training smarter, not harder. And I can't just blow 100-mile weeks out like I used to, back-to-back weeks. I need to prioritize quality over quantity. So you, my friend, you made some New Year's resolutions a calendar year ago. How are you doing on your New Year's resolutions into 2020?
Yeah, I have a big mouth sometimes, and it gets me into trouble. So I had 3+1 resolutions. The first resolution was to run a sub 15-minute 5K, because I've run sub 15-minute 5Ks in 15 successive years. So I had to do that, and I did it. I went out and ran a 14:59 on an unofficial, unsanctioned, but honest 5K loop. So I'm giving it to myself. So I'm now at 16 years, sub 15 in a row, which was I was pretty stoked about. And then I wanted to do well at the Boston Marathon, but as we know that there was no Boston Marathon this year, which is a bummer. So next time there's a Boston Marathon in Boston, I will be there on the start line. And then my third one was to run 100 kilometers in one go. And I've been very, very intrigued by the whole ultra running scene over the last few years, kind of since 2018, 2019. It's something I wanted to explore because I've spent my whole entire, teens, 20s, 30s, early 30s running as fast as I can. And I worked hard and I ran as fast as I can. And I think that my time of running fast on the shorter distances is done. And I really enjoyed that journey. And now I just want to continue on with my running progression. So you just go longer. And I'm excited to really delve into the mental side of things. I think physically I've worked really, really hard physically, but mentally there's still some unknowns there. And I want to know just what happens to my brain after running for 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. I want to know what's going on up there. And I've been inspired from reading lots of books, watching documentaries, following what you do. And it's a cool mindset, physically and mentally. And I want to be a part of it. And I want to know what the hell is going to happen. And I know it's going to be hard physically, but I don't know what's going to happen mentally. It's going to be hard also, but it's an unknown for me that I'm super intrigued about. And that was kind of the whole thing. So go and do it. And you know what? I went for a 40K run the other day and it was super chill, and just wrapping my head around the purpose of that run is now like the purpose of this 40K run is not finish 40K dead. It's finish 40K feeling like you could continue to go. And that was the first time I've done a run like that with that kind of mindset. And it was actually quite refreshing. So
it was quite something to message you that day after I did my speed session in the morning, and I had run for a grand total of 65 minutes or 68 minutes with warm up and cool down. And then I messaged Rob and he's like, yeah, I'm just getting ready to head out the door for a 3-hour long run right now. And I was like, I don't know if I missed that or not. It's kind of nice to have the rest of the day to spend with the family here. So
dude,
it's, entirely different training protocols.
And that's literally switching shoes, right? You had just gone out and crushed a 5K time trial, and I was like, all right, that I'll take my cue and go do my end of the bargain. and I went out there and I just told myself, I was like, run slow, and I'm having a really hard time with that'll be the hardest part, is because up to my running career up to now, it's all been about the metrics have been speed. I want to run fast. I like running fast. I like the way my body feels when I'm running fast. So trying to find my ultra marathon shuffle, quote unquote, right? And it's been challenging because even on Sunday, like, you're an hour and a half, 2 hours in, you're like, I feel good. I'm just gonna start rolling with it. And then it's like, no, that's not the purpose of the run today. The purpose of the run today is shuffle and finish feeling good. And I'm wrapping my head around that a little bit better. And it's coming, and I think that I have enough fear in me with this 100K that at least for the first 60K, I just want to be on my feet and then see what happens from there, type thing.
So we know that you have goals for this specifically, but I guess the question that we should ask, since people are going to have to try to guess your time, is, are you going to try to race this, or are you going to try to what can you let people know about how you're pursuing this?
Yeah. So the primary goal is completion, right? I have aspirations and kind of goals in my head of, like, at some point excelling in the sport. I mean, I'm 37, so I think I have a few years of running left in my legs. So, I mean, you're 44, so clearly I can keep going, right?
But speed is clearly relative. Like, I'm talking about 17:33 for a 5K and how much that killed me. And Rob just did 16 straight years of going under 15 minutes. So yeah, that's something else that's really cool about running and the sport in general, is the relative nature of things.
Yeah. And at some point, if we were to race distances, at some point you would overtake me, right? You would
right about mile 206 or 207, you would be way the heck behind me, at least 20, 30 meters.
Very bad. Well, that's what I like about. I like it. There's so many different aspects of this sport, and there's so many different places to explore it. But yeah, so for this first one, the goal is completion and experience, to get it under my belt and to know what I'm getting into, and if I want to get into it more. Right? Like, so many things, like, people think it's a cool idea to do something, until it's actually time to actually do it. And they're like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to do this. And that's what I want to see with these hundreds. Like, I would love to compete at like a comrade or something one day, because that's like my number one bucket list. Yeah, it's my number one bucket list race, not just a bunch of random fields where I'm hopping fences in South Africa. I want to go around the roads. But
there's running in between the barbed wire fences.
So I guess I'm rambling here, but you know, if I can go like that's kind of like what I have circled. Set myself up to like 4:30 a K type thing. But I wanted to ask you, for pacing wise, if I wanted to go, you know, if I wanted to go 4:30 a K average, would I hit the first 50K in 4:30 a K and decide to hold it from there? Or like, because at this point, a 4:20 and a 4:30, like, it's actually harder for me to run 4:30 because I feel like I'm slamming on the brakes. Where at a 4:20, it feels so smooth and so relaxed that I feel like I'm not pushing that much harder. So would it be okay banking a little bit in the first 50, 60K? Because I know 100% I could go 60K at 4:20 per kilometer, but I don't think I can go 100K. So do I give myself a little bit of a buffer?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, actually. And what I see for your run in particular is if you want to have legs late, because you'll be able to close really well over the last 10 plus, even 15 miles, I think, once you get to that point. And the mistake a lot of people make, especially lining up for their first run with a distance like this, your first 40 to 45 minutes, I always say to people, you can't win your race, your day in the first 40 to 45 minutes, but you can throw it all away right there and make the rest of it super duper miserable. So my advice to you in that regard would be, I really think that first 40 minutes is super critical, even with a good warm up beforehand. I mean, it's funny to say you're going to run 100 kilometers. You want to do a warm up before that, but you want to really focus on that first 40 to 45 minutes and staying super conservative. And at that point, after that, if you're rolling 4:20 comfortably, then you should absolutely roll 4:20 comfortably at that point in time. But I would say, yeah, make sure you're saving something for the end, because you will have some motivation and some legs to really close out strong as long as you set yourself up for that. And then the main thing, as we've talked about, is nutrition, right?
Yeah.
It's and even beyond just your body's ability to function, it's your mind's ability to stay dedicated to the goal. And I've seen people drop from ultra distance races just because they're calorie deficient. And when they're calorie deficient, the glycogen from their brain is non-existent and they just shut down. They lose all their motivation to live, basically. And you know, they're like a sobbing mess on the side of the trail. And then they eat a couple hundred calories and they find themselves a totally different person. So I would also say your other focus is really going to have to be on fueling consistently and fueling right from the start, which is not something that historically you've had to do.
Yeah. And you know what, you told me that before I did a couple 50Ks last year. And you told me, you're like, when in doubt, eat something. That you told me that. And I mean, you're my ultra running consultant. And and I've kept that as a mantra of mine. Like, when I'm out for a long run and I'm feeling crappy, eat something. I was trying to take in 200 calories an hour on the weekend, and I mean, my stomach handled it well, but I didn't take any fluid with me. So as soon as I finished the run, I finished at the store and got like a Powerade and smashed it, and then I immediately threw up because I think it was just like whatever. But during the run, I was doing 200 cals and it felt fine. I'm gonna go along again this weekend and continue to explore with finding what. But I like the endurance taps a lot. Those are really good.
Yeah, and we should wrap it here within the next like 90 seconds kind of thing. But the last thing with that, nutrition wise, so you being a lean, fit, experienced runner, you guys and gals are typically on the lower end of that calorie spectrum, and you can get away with about 200 pretty easily. People who haven't been lifelong runners or don't find themselves super lean are typically in the 250 to 300 range. So what I say to people I'm coaching is for your long runs every week, you have to head out the door with 250 calories per hour for every hour you're going to be out there, and you have to eat it on the run. And you're not just conditioning your mind to know when to eat, you're actually conditioning your stomach to be able to digest those calories on the run. And a real side story to that was I ran the Western States 100 in 2009, and I had a miserable experience where I had to walk the last 20 miles to the finish line, and I had to walk half of them backwards down the hills because my quads were blown and I was peeing blood. But I finished, and then I took my lumps and asked questions and learned, and because the race happens in 100-degree Fahrenheit heat, I wasn't fueling properly. So you need to fuel with viscous calories in hot environments. I spent 6 months the following year training my body to digest and eat gels on a regular basis. I went back a calendar year later. I finished 6th, which is one of my best ever results in a race of that magnitude. And I had between 38 and 45 gel. And it like makes me want to puke in my mouth, even just saying that and thinking about that. But I dedicated 6 months of training to being able my stomach to digest those calories properly. So you, for the next couple of weeks and previously, obviously, but you want to be focusing on ensuring that you're staying true to that calorie count in your training runs, so that during your race, your effort, it's already going to be established that you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. The stomach is super trainable. I've learned that. I've had the opportunity through like higher, national team stuff, work with people like Trent Stellingworth, and I know the importance of it. So just kind of nail the protocol down, and yeah, thank you, Ultra Consultant.
So we decided to flip the setup for the first of our podcast interviews, our Zoom interviews. We're going to do 100 hours and 10 seconds is going to be how long we're going to do, or 100 minutes and 10 seconds is going to be our first one here. Now we're at 26 minutes. We should probably wrap it up a little bit, leave some content for next week. But yeah, we'll check in weekly, and we'll put it out there, and we'll see what people say, and we'll answer some questions and stuff going forward. And so I think we finished with the dates that we're doing this.
Yes, and also you can follow along on Strava.
Good call. Yes, follow us on Strava. Follow
our training on Strava. And so I'm going December 29th. It's a Tuesday. I'm just gonna go down to the beach on Tuesday morning and just run up and down the beach until I hit 100 kilometers. It's fairly flat. It's soft. It's really close to my house. I'm gonna park my car and have that as like my aid station. And then like I have like my automatic trunk opener. So when I get there, I'm gonna hit the trunk and it's gonna open, and I'm gonna get my gels, and I'm gonna keep running. So
I can't wait to see how that actually looks when you're there and you're walking, death marching to the trunk and sitting inside of it and closing it on top of you.
Yeah, my house is pretty close to where we're gonna be. It's always gonna be in the back of my mind.
You should come out to Chilliwack and do it. Then you don't have to worry about going home halfway through.
You know what? I was gonna do it in Stanley Park, but I was literally like, that 10-minute drive home after running 100 kilometers is gonna destroy me. So I just want to be able to like hobble home or just like sit in the ocean. So it's strategic. And so I'm going on December 29th, and then yourself, what's your plan?
I'm going to go on the second weekend in January. So that's going to be either January 8, 9, or 10, I think it is, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll try to cherry pick the best weather day and a day that isn't wind affected. That's the other crazy thing about this. I've never once thought about wind on a run as being a thing. And then I get out and do these speed training intervals, and it's a little bit windy, and I'm going crazy in my head looking at the watch going, I'm faster than this. The wind is clearly having an effect. And then I'm messaging Rob with a list of the reasons why my pacing is slower. And yeah, it's a different world, and I'm thoroughly enjoying being exposed to this different side of things.
You know what? We have an ongoing debate at Mile to Marathon of the worst conditions for running fast. And I am fully and entirely on wind. So I'm glad that you can appreciate.
Oh yeah, I am all in the wind category. And this is someone who grew up in Newfoundland, where the average daily wind is 22 kilometers an hour. I would wake up in the mornings as a kid in Newfoundland, and you'd peel back the curtains and it'd be sunny out. And then I'd stand up and the trees would be sideways. I'm like, all right, well, nice inside.
Coast to coast, man. Right on. Cool. Well, thanks for chatting tonight, man.
Yeah, man, this was good. Absolutely. Yeah. And then hopefully 1 or 2 people watch. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments, and then we'll check in again in a week, and we'll answer any questions, and we'll follow us, and we'll see how it goes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Buddy. Okay.